We're going to look at it. Sean Strickland, who I had never really heard of. I don't really follow UFC. Do you guys follow UFC? Let me know in the comments if you follow the UFC and the fighters and everything like that. I'm not a big, I don't really follow it that much, but Sean Strickland went viral for some of what he had to do or what he had to say before a fight like a week ago. So we're going to take a look and a listen to this. This is Sean Strickland. He had a few clips here, and this is the first one we're going to go through. Talking to a Canadian reporter. So take a look and listen. We'll talk about this.
Thanks.
Sean, Neil Davidson from the Canadian Press. Welcome to Canada.
Oh, congratulations! Yeah, fucking the Canadian Press, man. Were you a COVID bank account stealer too? Were you on board with that?
No.
Are you left wing or right wing? Were you a Trudeau? We got one of the fucking commies with the press. We got to know where this man stands. Were you non-biased?
I think I'll ask the questions here.
Oh, he thinks he'll ask. Oh, we fucking know. Maybe I should just pass on this motherfucker. He's gonna go back. He's gonna go back and fucking give my bank account information to fucking Trudeau.
Oh my God!
It's probably a good bank account.
Well, it's probably a good bank account. What does that even mean? That's a really weird thing to say. Well, it's probably a good bank account. That's the first thing. So he's talking to a Canadian reporter here, and he knows that there's going to be a bias. He knows that there's going to be a bias, and so he comes out the gate swinging, just like he would if he was going and talking to, or if he was going into the ring. He knows going into that situation that there is going to be some level of conflict. And so he goes in getting the upper hand, doing what is unexpected. And even the reporter goes, I'll ask the questions here. That response in and of itself indicates a certain level of you're here to be adversarial and not just ask me a normal question about the fight I'm going to go into. No, I love the shirt that he's wearing too, because if you look at the shirt, it's a woman in every kitchen, a gun in every hand. Sean 2024 Strickland. It's funny. And so we can even take a look. Now, here's another video that we can take a look and listen to of Sean at the same press conference talking to a different reporter. So let's take a look and listen here.
In lesbian community in this city, I did want to ask you about something you wrote.
I want to go back to the very beginning. Here we go.
We've got a pretty supportive gay and lesbian community in this city. I did want to ask you about something you wrote a couple of years ago. You said, if I had a gay son, I would think I'd...
Oh, look, another. I'm saying the swamp, you guys, the swamp.
You become a champion, you become a star, and
let me ask you something. Are you gay? No, are you? Let me know. Are you gay?
Can I get an answer?
Well, no, I'm asking. This is a part of. Are you a gay man?
I'm an ally of the community.
Okay. If you had a son and he was like, you had a son, he was gay, you'd be like, oh man, you don't want a grandkid?
No problem with it.
Oh man, well, dude, you're a weak fucking man, dude. You're part of the fucking problem. You elected Justin Trudeau. Like,
you're a weak flipping man. You're a part of the problem. All right, I gotta keep going. I had to pause because I love this response because he's not apologetic. He's not going up there and be like, man, this was like a thing I tweeted a few years ago and I actually feel bad about it. And man, like, no, he's not apologetic. He is who he is and he's authentic and it's raw. And he just calls out the reporter, you're a weak man. I love it. Let's keep going.
With you fucking, when he sees the bank accounts, like you're just fucking pathetic. And the fact that you have no fucking backbone. And has he shut down your fucking country and seized bank accounts? You ask me some stupid shit like that, go fuck yourself. Move the fuck on, man.
I feel like that doesn't really answer the question, but I did want to ask also things you said about the trans.
Yeah. Didn't really answer my question. You barely even asked a question. You didn't even ask a question. Here's what this guy did. And there's more that he's going to say, but here's what this guy did. A Canadian reporter goes up and he tries to ask a gotcha. And Sean didn't let him. Sean just said, let's get your opinion on this. I've already made mine clear. What are you even asking me? He wasn't asking anything. The guy got up there and said, you made this tweet. And didn't even get to the point of what I guarantee you he was going to say, which was, do you apologize for these statements? which isn't even really a question. That's just leading. Are you going to say I'm sorry because I think you should? That's all he's pretty much saying. Idiot. All right, let's keep listening because I got a lot to say about this one.
And community, you said this past October when they announced the Bud Light sponsorship that you'd go so hard on Bud Light in your next fight, they'll have to accept me or denounce me when they know what and will know what they stand for. Are you
This guy's like, nah, this Canadian's not that Canadian.
Are you still going to use your fight time to kind of speak on that?
Here's the thing about Bud Light. 10 years ago, to be trans was a mental fucking illness. And now all of a sudden, people like you have fucking weaseled your way into the world. You are an infection. You are the definition of weakness. Everything that is wrong with the world is because of fucking you. And the best thing is the world's not buying it. The world's not buying your fucking bullshit you're fucking peddling. The world is not saying, you know what? You're right. Fucking chicks have dicks. The world's not saying that. The world's saying, no, there are two genders. I don't want my kids being taught about, who they could fuck in school. I don't want my kids being taught about, their sexual preference. Like, dude, this guy is the fucking enemy. You want to look at the fucking enemy to our world? It's that motherfucker right there.
I love it. What an insanely great roast on this man. You are the enemy. You are the definition of weakness. Like, his trash talk is phenomenal. Like, I would never want to get on the bad side of this guy, not only because he's a UFC fighter, but also because while I think I'm pretty good at tearing somebody down verbally, that is next level. And I love it. But Sean Strickland did ultimately end up losing. I will say he did end up ultimately losing the overall fight that he was doing this press conference for. But here's what he won. He won the attempt of media hacks to control the narrative. Now, this reporter is intellectually dishonest from the very start of this interaction. This Canadian reporter is at a UFC press conference. And instead of asking anything about the upcoming fight, or even asking anything open-ended with a want to understand the fighter, this Canadian reporter is at a UFC press conference and goes up, and his mindset has nothing to do about anything like that. He goes in with a question about some unrelated social media post from a few years ago. This reporter went into the interaction, into the entire conversation, without actually trying to get a better understanding or tell anyone any kind of news. No, what he wanted to do was write a story. And I know that sounds simple. Like, of course, the reporter wants to write a story. But no, when I say story, he wants to write a narrative, something that he's already concocted in his head. He probably already had most of it written before this interaction. It's a story in which Strickland is portrayed as a homophobic, transphobic extremist. This question that he asks regarding you said this thing about having a gay son was simply to cover his ass so that he could act like he did some level of due diligence. Strickland, however, wasn't going to let that happen. Instead, Strickland recognizes the idiocy of the line of questioning and its lack of relevance and just utterly embarrassed this man to the tune of tens of millions of people on social media. Seriously, tens of millions of people. And so what ends up happening? Well, it starts off where this guy thinks that he's going to get a few thousand people to read an article, maybe 100,000 people to read this article about how Sean Strickland is a homophobic piece of crap. But instead, Strickland comes out, is unapologetically himself, and to his own followers, because here's the thing is Sean Strickland shared all of this to his own Twitter accounts. So to all of Strickland's supporters, tens of millions of people, they now get to see this reporter, this Canadian reporter, get absolutely destroyed by Strickland. Embarrassed. So who won? I guarantee you that clip was seen by a ton more people than that article ever would have been. But the thing is that these media people are all in cahoots. And so while maybe not all of them agree with the line of questioning of the Canadian reporter, the reporters are not happy with Strickland, which means thus, and it's not even that they're not happy with Strickland, they're not happy with the fact that Strickland was allowed to say what he was going to say and what he did say. Oh man, he should be controlled. Let's talk to, in a traditional Karen fashion, the media asked to talk to the manager. And so not soon after, Dana White, as many of you know, like the owner of the UFC, or at least the operator, I don't know exactly, is that maybe CEO, whatever his title is with the UFC, he gets asked about free speech and everything to his fighters. So take a look and listen.
About like, you obviously give a long leash to your fighters about, what they can say when they are up there with a UFC microphone, and you are getting into territory of homophobia, transphobia. Like, is there?
I don't give anybody a leash.
Well, I'm saying you.
A leash?
Like
free speech. Control what people say. Going to tell people what to believe. Going to tell people. I don't fucking tell any other human being what to say, what to think, and there's no leashes on any of them. What is your question?
I was asking that question. I'll move on though.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
I was asking that question, but I guess I'll move on. Yeah, because your question was stupid. The question essentially was, how do you censor your fighters? And he was like, I don't. And for you to suggest that I should is idiotic. Keep going.
Yeah, that's ridiculous to say I give somebody a leash. Free speech, brother. People can say whatever they want and they can believe whatever they want.
Yeah, free speech, brother. That's what he says. And so here's the real thing that's fascinating to me, right? Is so a big part of our First Amendment in this country is about the fact that we can have a free press that can be critical of our government, that can print news and real stories. And instead, our press has become basically the actor for the entirety of our government. And so what do? Instead of questioning the government nearly as much as they should, they go along with Joe Biden's escapades and his corruption tied with his son Hunter. They go along with all that, and they'll protect Hunter in terms of the laptop story. But, when there's something that goes against the progressive and leftist narrative, how are you going to censor that, Dana White? How are you going to censor Sean Strickland? And Dana, in a perfect execution, says, screw you for asking that question. It's an insult to even do that. And shuts him up quickly. And the irony of the reporter who wishes to censor lives on. However, at least in this instance, his idiocy is silenced. That's my takes. What do you guys think? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends, all that fun stuff.